My years of spiritual practice brought me straight back to this one thing that I have tried so hard to escape from. I had such a nice weather today, so I just wanted to sit outside and film. Even though the spring is here, the temperature is still a bit chilly here in Oslo. It was really warm last week, but then it dropped again. But I finally found some energy and motivation to go out for a walk. For many years, I've only relied on my own efforts to take care of everything, create the things that I wanted. And then I only ended up building a life full of struggles and disease. I got sick and I'm still recovering from the after effect of all the stress. When I started to practice spirituality, when I say practice, reading books about Kabbalah, Gnostic scriptures, and other different views on spiritual growth, things like that. I don't want to go in details about it. I think it's beyond the point. The only reason I did it because I became obsessed with this idea of manifestation. My approach to spirituality was to really find that key to have everything I ever wanted in life. And the more I became obsessed with this idea of manifestation and tapping into this, power within myself so that I can create anything I wanted, I watched a lot of videos on YouTube about this, and I read a lot of books about law of attraction. But I wasn't really manifesting anything huge, big, you know what I mean? That could really satisfy my desire. So I felt like maybe I was doing something wrong. And then I started to experience this spiritual inferiority and felt like maybe I'm not as spiritually advanced as these certain people who claim that they got everything they wanted in life through spiritual practice and stuff like that. And so I went through different phases on my spiritual journey. And then a year ago, something started to change inside of me. That is when I discovered this Gnostic scriptures called the hammadi scriptures. Is the old text recovered in 1945 in Egypt. Dates back 2,000 years ago. And I don't exactly remember how I come to discover this. I just bought this book, the whole scripture, and I started reading it. And it completely changed my way of looking at myself and my life, understanding religion, why it was the way it was. It is a huge text. It's a lot of things. But what it did for me was that it put certain things into perspective. Started to see that I was going in the wrong direction when it comes to spirituality. It was never about just getting some material things. It was about realizing my own deep, innate worthiness as part of this creative source. It's called the One in the Gnostic scripture. So we all come from this one source. And so we have the same creative power as the source. I just want to remind you that this is from my personal experience. I'm not here to teach you or preach you anything at all. I'm simply here to share my personal experiences so that if it resonates with you in any way, or if it sparks any kind of understanding about yourself, that is all I want. So in my experience, when I was really obsessed with this material success, material things, having more, having, big stuff, I wasn't feeling good about myself. I felt small. I felt like as if my sense of worthiness depends on me having more in life. That even though part of me knew that it wasn't, but the other part of me was really obsessed with proving myself, proving my worth through achievement. Even though on the outside I didn't really show it, but on the inside I wasn't really feeling great about myself at all. When I read the Gnostic scriptures and really diving into this concept of being the source, being complete, being whole, and that this material world is our creation, not the other way around. And that we are the one who gives meaning to the things that we have, not the other way around. And then I started to approach my meditation practice from a different point of view. Instead of visualizing the things that I want to have, I started to visualize nothing. There's this practice from Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditation collection, something called being in the present moment. It's that you become this pure consciousness, being nobody, wanting nothing, just be this consciousness that observes everything, but not defining itself with anything. In the beginning, to be honest, it scared me. It scared me so much to the point that I had to come face to face with my biggest fear, letting go of my desires. Because there's this part of me that believed that if I let go of my desire, then it will never manifest itself. And so I couldn't let go of my desire. I was like, the minute I started to stop thinking, I started to get panic attack in the beginning. And then I had to just, stop the meditation at once and just get up and start breathing. And then I stumbled upon this book called Letting Go. I mentioned it in my previous video. And I went through this book several times. And eventually I understood that there was this certain emotions, beliefs inside of me that creates this fear of letting go of my desire. And I was identifying myself with these desires so much that I became so small. And this smallness doesn't fit with the creative power of the one, the spark, the soul, So my soul is actually not small. Our soul is not the small part of ourselves. It is the big part of ourselves. It is the one with the courage. It is the one with the creative power. It is the one that can hold so much. But then we end up identifying with this small part of ourselves that clings to the desire, clings to the material things, clings to the fear and apathy and depression and anxiety. So I recognized that, through practice. I was able to see that. And I think I've experienced an ego death, that I suddenly just stop obsessing over how I would look on the outside to other people, how my life is defined by the material success. I just started to letting go little by little of these limiting beliefs that I had about myself, of these attachment that I had about, my life, my existence on this planet. And slowly I understood that the reason why I was so clingy to these, desires is because deep down there was part of me that was really scared. Because that's what happens when we believe that we don't live in a friendly universe, as if there's something that's always there to try to pull the rug underneath our feet, that we're not safe, that we have to only rely on our own efforts to create something. Then, of course, that's what happens. We cannot relax, we cannot let go. Because we believe in a creator who is wrathful and stingy and, have a lot of conditions before they can give us something, It's like a stingy parents. That's how we perceive the creator of the universe. When we don't feel safe within ourselves, when we feel like we're not worthy, we have to prove ourselves all the time. But then once I started to letting go of these ideas, I suddenly feel like, even though there are a lot of bad things are happening in the world, we are human beings are the reason of why these things happens. But the truth is that we live in a friendly universe. Nobody is trying to pull the rug under my feet. Nobody is trying to sabotage my future or my life. The only person who was trying to sabotage my life was myself through my own self-doubt. And so that one thing that I was always afraid of doing, letting go, that is where all my spiritual practice led me to. That I had to let go everything. My desires, there's this dog. Hi. He just ran towards me. Yeah, so believing that we live in a friendly universe, that most of the things that happens in this world, all these chaos that we create, we do that out of fear, I believe. That we get paranoid. And when we get paranoid, we make all the wrong decisions. Whether it is, in your own life or things that's happening in the world. It's because people believe that we live in a hostile world. We're not safe. We are constantly being targeted, or, we have to have more. So once I started to let go of this small part of me, this fearful part of me, and really recognizing that the number one reason I've been so obsessed with this manifestation techniques, all of this stuff, and not being able to really create this true sense of peace and confidence that I have actually desired, was because on one hand, I wanted these things, but on the other hand, I constantly doubted that I might be not good enough or worthy enough to have them, and that there is this creator who demands so much, and that that creator is not on my side, And now, at this point, after I've done all these practices, the place I am right now is that after I let go of these fear, I suddenly started to experience tremendous amount of inner peace. Like this sense of wholeness, completeness. This is what I wanted to feel when I was chasing all those external success in my life. And it only came to me when I finally let go of chasing anything. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't want something in your life. You should definitely want something in your life. I mean, like, that's the reason why I started this YouTube channel. I want to become successful on doing YouTube. I want to have a positive impact in the world. But now I'm doing this from a place of being complete. I'm okay if it works out. I'm okay if it doesn't work out. It's not going to define me in any way. And this gave me a lot of confidence in doing it in my own way, showing up as me, being the best version of me, and believing that this is enough. What I know is good enough to share. And I know that my knowledge will increase, and that in the future I will have even more things to share. And that I do believe that if what I am going to share is good for the humanity, then the universe will always support me in reaching out to the right kind of audience. And so, in that sense, like, I want to do things, but I'm not doing them with like this greediness or this big ambition, like I have to have this success or else I'm going to be depressed, like I don't have that type of attachment to anything I do anymore. And that is very liberating. We're all in this together. That we don't have to see each other or the universe as a threat. The only reason the world become unsafe is because we made it so. But actually, we don't live in a hostile universe. I no longer believe in that. So I do hope that this message, this video can help you in some way, form or shape. Let me know in the comment section, and if you're new here, remember to subscribe to my channel if you have enjoyed this conversation. And thank you so much for being here. Take good care of yourselves. See you soon. Bye-bye.